Welcome to Butterfly Effect, Lesson 5, Floating Levels and Range Trends. Now, today we're talking about kind of this hidden magical trend that many people have often seen me use, but I've always wondered how I create them. They're called range trends. And there's also another theory to them, tied to them, that I call a floating level. Now, the floating level isn't so important here because the floating level actually isn't really a theory that too much, more of like an idea. So floating level becomes something where you have exactly that, a floating level. Like this for me right now would be a floating level. It hasn't been tested yet. It has developed a new range, much higher, and it has now become this kind of level that's floating on the charts, right? Another floating level would be this one right here. You see how you have kind of the bottom of a range. It moves up and then it has a second move up to create a new range. And it's kind of just this untested level that was just zoomed past and nothing really happened. That would be another floating level. Now, these floating levels become amazing buy spots, but that's not the power of them. The power of them is they are used to create what's called range trends. So a range trend can show you exactly the most interior current piece of a trend. So people have been using me, seeing me use range trends for years, and they're always like, "Oh, why do you mark this trend?" And then you look, and it doesn't really seem relevant. And then, another almost an identical trend would be like this to this, and they'd say, "Oh, why do you use that trend?" And people don't really have a clear understanding of why we use range trends, but a range trend is something that's a very interior trend that controls something in the move. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about that. But in this lesson, we're just going to kind of go over floating levels and range trends. So again, a floating level, just to recap this, is where you have, the bottom of a move and you've gone to a hold level that's untested, and that hold level kind of just breaks above everything. You often see these where you have maybe, it looks like there might be an origin level right here. You break over top of an origin level and you kind of have this level that was left untested, floating in just kind of thin air, right? The final hold level before the range creation was completed through or passed through, or you've gone into a new range of a move. And again, that just becomes this kind of floating level on your charts that ends up being really amazing buy spots. You can see another one right here where you've broken up into creating this new range, and then you've come back to back test that. Another floating level could possibly be here on the bigger time frame. Like if you were to move up in time frames, you could see a backside hold level here on the higher time frame right here, and this would become another great floating level. Or you have to kind of find that highest time frame down. So actually, by working a time frame up here, we've kind of done an injustice because we always have to work time frame down. We can't use a daily here because of the time frame, but we sure can use the 4 hour. This couldn't be a floating level because you haven't really broken above that range. It's more of like looking for a combination level. This absolutely could be a floating level right here. This is a backside floating level. Your floating level would more be like right here, but then this has a whole entire combination level inside of it. So then, combination level would dictate that you're here and that you move down into the move to the 1 hour right here, which gives you almost like a picture perfect floating level. So again, floating levels aren't the important thing here. While they can be powerful, the range trend is what we're really focusing on today. So let's go to a different spot on the charts. Maybe let's go to a spot that we haven't looked at, kind of maybe like right here, or maybe something that doesn't have such a sharp drop off, or why not? Why not we just use this one right here? So we have let's find the floating level here. Let's take the replay tool, and this would be a floating level, although that kind of dumps straight after, so we can't really develop a range trend off of it. You'd have a floating level right here. So this is a perfect one. You break above the range, you create a floating level right here, right here or here, either one. It's all kind of the same thing. This could possibly be an origin level that was created and it broke over, and the floating level is a little bit of a better entry. So now here's the thing. When you have a floating level, it gives you the ability to create a range trend. So what you're going to be able to do from this point is you're going to be able to use that as the base to your range trend. So a range trend like this gives you an incredible amount of accuracy in a trade. And so you're going to have these larger trends that you work with, which are, if you were to use this hold level, for example, right here, you would use, you'd use this hold level. You could create a range trend off this. So you're always going to the base of what is tested to the actual level that is tested. So we can see here two kind of range trends. And then you can build architecture off of these. If you think back to Future of Trading, local, global, legacy, you could also build architecture off of these like this. So this could be the collapse of that range trend below by having this continuation of trends above. And this would be your range trend. When you lose that range trend, you are going down to your next range, which would be this one right here. So let's take this and kind of walk through that explanation a little bit so we can kind of talk about that. So you have two levels here. Both these levels were, this is tested so we can delete it to get clarity on our charts. We don't want that in the way. This one is not created yet, but we have this hold level. So when you are to break this trend, you are going to go down to your next hold level and create your next range trend. You're inside that range and going after that trend. And when you break one range trend, you're simply going to the next range to create that next range trend. So if you were to, in theory, break this level, well, you would be going down to this hold level. So you were, whenever this happens in time, it could happen right here. It could happen all the way down here. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's the dictation that this is the hold level that created the base of this trend right here. So whenever you break this trend, you are breaking this level. So you are then just going to the next hold level down and creating the range off of it, right? So let's kind of just step through this, breaks that, hits that hold level, and then you are creating the next range trend right here. And then when you break this, you would be going and creating the next range trend, which I think is a little scary at this point. It's, we could just kind of mark any random level. We could mark this as a floating hold level without going too far into time frames. I'm sure there's much more going on. Hopefully we'll strike gold with this one and it'll nail it right on the head. We have a pretty good track record of doing that with these things. And you could just kind of, maybe we'll speed up time frames here. Take a look, see if it actually goes down to this level or not. And it does. It goes right down to that level, but then it collapses even further. And then you probably have some kind of combination level in here where you're going much deeper in the level. I suppose we could go take a look, right? I'm always do this the hard way, and it's always during replays. Okay, let's zoom out. Try to brute force this stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, we'll find it, right? Your combination level would simply just be down here in time. You wouldn't go much further than this, and I'm sure Bitcoin goes much deeper than this, but the dictation of the combination level is that you'd be buying this hourly floating level with this as the greediest entry on it, as the floating level. You can't really go much more below this. I don't even care to look. You've got maybe another $50 there of a spread. So we can just go up in time frame and see, and there it is. That's the level that we had to hold, and once it broke, the whole level broke down. So you are very much now, when you lose this range trend, you are breaking down to this level, and so forth and so forth. So we can look at maybe some different examples of that too, and draw out some different range trends and explain their kind of use case. And you would have the same thing on the top side too. When you have levels get hit, you can draw your range trends. Like we can take our replayer tool, we can take it to here, and we can start drawing those different range trends with the architecture between them. So this one would be kind of like right here. Maybe we should go to the 4 hour first. So we don't have a 4 hour range trend. We don't actually have that. So what we'd have to do is we'd have to go to the hourly and say, oh, we actually do have an hourly trend. And that's the time frame you have to base it on. So, as you go through this move, I'm sure you end up here, and then I'm sure you end up here, and it looks like you end up right here to this one. So then you could go to this, press play, kind of see what happens there. And you would see that that's the trend that actually was going after. It broke that trend and it went after its range trend. So it just goes from one range trend to the next range trend, just like the example on the bottom side. You can pretty much go anywhere on your charts, find these examples, look for your range trends. And when they break, so for example, this would have been the same thing here. This hold level gets hit. This one right here. This hold level gets hit. Hey, maybe there'd even be a combination level right there. Anyways, this hold level gets hit. And then, once your range trend breaks, it just goes straight up to the next range trend. And that would, then further establish the move going into the next part of the move, which would be at this point, the origin level. So then this range trend breaks and it creates its origin level, which was likely somewhere in here back on a different time frame. We could try it. We could try to go to the 15-minute time frame here. We might lose a replay. No, we're good actually. So we don't have any 15-minute origin level right there. It looks like it might be the origin level might be right here. So this would be the origin level. So then I have an inclination to think that there's a 5-minute origin back here, but I think regardless, this would kind of include the same thing. So then you could simply take the replayer tool off, and when you broke that trend, you would be going after that origin level there. Yeah, you'd be going exactly after that, because that would just be kind of the next queue of events, the next chain of things to happen. In order to break this move, you'd have to then go and create the origin, the breakout point. And so your range trend would be gone, or it could be adapted to something like this, as slim as that is, and that would have given you your second entry right there, your range trend, which would have adapted right there. And then once this range trend breaks, you would be up in here, or if there was another range trend, your next range trend could even possibly be maybe right here. Maybe this is your next range trend. Come on. Maybe this is your next range trend in the move. So if that were to have broken in the moment, you might have gone all the way up here. And as time goes on, maybe you'll get closer to it when you start breaking some of these moves. And that's just the way time works with our day trading charts. And then maybe you would have went up to this point here in the future when you break this sometime out in the future. You may end up going up here and testing that, or this range trend here, depending on kind of the architecture of what's happening and how it's playing out in the moment. So let's go look at another range trend. Just going to delete these, clean up our charts. Let's pick a random spot. How about like right here, or maybe like right here? Yeah, right here looks good. Should we do this one? Sure, why not, right? So the way you first start this out by, oh, okay, fine, let's just do this. No, okay, let's go back. I don't know, pick a spot, any spot. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's always the same thing, right? Go to the beginning of a range, right? This, Bitcoin has just dumped. It's kind of whatever it's hit back here. It's hit some kind of level. It's just dumped, and now we need to start going to our biggest time frames available. So we go here. We don't have any daily information, so it can't be a daily. Let's see 4 hour. Do we have 4 hour? Yes, but I think we have something that's created before that. You can kind of tell there's something there. What about an hourly? Let's take a look. Here to here. Is this a trend? It's kind of hard to tell if it's a trend or not. It is, actually. It is. So that's fine. You'd have a trend right here. We can delete this 4 hour one. I don't think it's going to be used. And then you could also make an interior range trend from that to this. Looks like there might be even a smaller time frame that it was adapted to, but this would supersede it anyways in the future. And you can hit play here. And so you can see where this range trend is compressing the move. And when it breaks, you are going to go and attack whatever is representing this range trend, right? So that's compress the move. It's just a simple interior trend off your range trend. Look at the power of that. Holy bananas. This is a strong one. This is quite the range trend. They all act like this, don't worry. Isn't that some like big, woohoo moment? They all are. Range trends are pretty crazy like this. So then, theoretically, once you break this range trend, you're going to go and attack whatever this represents. It's either the next part of the chain, which could be this level right here, or, something else. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's range trend there. Ladder's the move. Now we have to break this ladder on the move. So that ladder right here would have to have been broken in that move in order to, this is gone now at this point, or at a minimum, it is, move to here and then here. That's, not really the way you want to use range trends, but in a theoretical standpoint, that's where it would be at. And there it is right there. There's that attack of that range trend. You break over top of it, you back test it, you hold it, and then you can see how much Bitcoin actually moved up and off that. And I'm sure you could go in here and find other range trends. I'm sure you could go inside of this, and we just use the one time frame. I'm sure that over time you can develop the 4 hour range trend, right? Just like this, which then could be, diminished down to that hourly right here, and then it would hard close break to here, right? So that would be the next one. And then at that point, you could develop the architecture to see even, a further breaking of this trend. You'd be here, and then you could go to your hourly, next time frame down, and then you could develop that range trend from here to here on the hourly, because you're just working with global, local, legacy architecture, right? You're just working with that there. And then you could see the point where it might make a smart entry to break over top of this interior range trend, which would attack this range trend. And when that one breaks, it would attack this, which is just all a subcomponent of this anyway. So in a way, you can almost just delete these two. And this could be the fueling of the attack on that. And then that range trend breaks and it moves up. Well, let's find another one. What about doing one on the bottom side, like right here? Sure. Yeah, why not? Floating level, not hit. Let's take the replayer tool off so we don't lose our spot by me switching time frames and doing something silly and being like, uh-oh, where did it go? Without switching time frames, I'm just going to mark one that's on the screen right here, the hourly. Sure, why not? We can maybe go to the 4 hour after. Here's your range trend, distribution to distribution candle, right? We can go to the 4 hour here, just make sure we didn't really miss anything. Nope, you don't really have, you can't attach it here because you've got a candle that starts there. So can't really attach it to that one. But because this is starting before that 4 hour, you can definitely have that there. And then, so you could also build the architecture off this too, right? But let's not build the architecture on this one. Let's just actually walk through this move and see where this trend gets hit and broken, and kind of what happens with this trend. There's another range trend that you could use, right? You've got a floating level. So that's another key part of it, is when you have one of these ranges that break, this level's already back tested. So it can't be this level right here, but it can be this level. And that can give you another interior range trend. So when this one breaks, it should go and attack that one on the bottom. And then this one also gives you, kind of that really nice retouch re-entry there as well. So you can see right there where this range trend is still holding. You don't even need this anymore. It's more about the trend at this point. That trend breaks and it goes to attack this trend down here. Right there. So you can see where, you have to pause this, because you hit pause one time and TradingView doesn't listen. And it's like, no, we're going to keep going. No, you're not. Trust me. I'm the driver. You're the passenger. I press pause, you listen. So you can see where this range trend breaks and it just goes right after its next range trend. So range trends, as you can see, picking just random spots on the chart and working with distribution, accumulation to accumulation points, really gives you it's like some pretty insane trend magic to work with on your charts. This one breaks, and just like all the other range trends we saw, shouldn't this just mean that if you're going down to your next range trend? Yeah, it does. You go right down to your next range trend right there. And they become great spots to enter. And you can start mixing in combination levels. It's a 3% trade here. That's like $7,500, like pretty crazy stuff. You lose this one, you go to the next one. One range trend breaks, you go straight down to the next one. Here, there's another 10K in the bank, right? So you can just kind of constantly use these range trends if you know how to find them. And then, when this one breaks here, you would even just be under the assumption that here's your floating level. So then you would be right here to right here. That's a pretty gnarly range trend. Look at how accurate that one is too. Oh boy. Are we going to go right to this one? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think we need to speed this up. Let's use a 4-hour candle here, maybe. Break this range trend. Are we going straight down? There we go. Got him, boys. Yes. Right to the next one. You see, every single time, like a laser, we got it. So, yeah. And then that developed the range trends up top. So you could have shorted this range trend to your next range trend and just been like, yeah, give me the juice, baby, because it's like so easy. But this is range trends, a pretty big piece of magic on the charts. And I think people watching this replay can see how like unbelievable range trends can be. And people for, 4 or 5 years now have been like, how do you get that trend on your chart? What is that trend? Well, here's your answer. It's a range trend. One of my pieces of magic that I'm passing on as of today, officially range trends now in your bag of goodies, with floating levels, with combination levels, really starting to fill in the pieces, butterfly effect to magic, and making people become the best versions of themselves. So range trends and floating levels, combo levels, all that good stuff. Enjoy it, use it, smoke the charts, and yeah, until the next lesson, see you on the next one. Cheers.